In this episode, Golden and I discuss Terminator: Dark Fate. Full speed ahead. Welcome to the Omega Beam number 54. I'm your host, Oren Merton. And you probably know the Terminator franchise has been around for 35 years at this point. And in that time, there's been around 6 movies, there's been a TV series, web series, games, you name it. It's been a really successful franchise, gone on a long time, and neither Golden nor I have seen all of it. Golden has seen more than I have, but neither of us were super into this franchise out of all the franchises out there. But it's still classic sci-fi, and the movie generally was pretty well received, so we decided to give it a go, and our conversation follows. Let me just say that there's some spoilers in what's to come. Not super spoilerific, but if spoilers matter, then be aware there's a little bit more than you'll find in the trailer. So keep that in mind, and here we go. I am here with Golden to talk about Terminator: Dark Fate. So I wanted to start by talking about what our relationship is with the Terminator franchise. It's a 35-year-old franchise at this point. So how much have you seen? Or there's movies, there's TV shows, there's probably books, there's comics, there's video games, there's web series. What are you familiar with?
I did not see the original in the theater. Okay. I saw it later on. And then I think I might have seen the second one in the theater. I don't remember.
Okay.
I think I saw 1, 2, 3, not sure about 4 and parts of 5. And I saw the TV series.
Okay.
Which I enjoyed.
All right. Yeah, I've heard it was good. You've definitely experienced more Terminator stuff than I did. I saw the first one in the theaters, and I saw the second one in the theaters. And that was in the 80s. That was a long time ago. And I loved them. I thought it was a great story, but moreover, I thought it was a complete story. And so after Terminator 2, I was done. And it's not because I was opposed to the franchise. Like you said, the TV series everyone says was good and all.
Well,
but
I mean, it's fine to see like Arnold Schwarzenegger type person who's muscular and really tough and, acting like a machine. But then you have like Summer Glau, who probably weighs like 100 pounds,
yeah.
able to do what a Terminator can do, which for the series was cool. And it's Summer.
Yeah, and it's Summer Glau. Yeah, and I just never saw any of the others. I kept seeing reviews of the other movies, the Terminator 3 and Terminator Salvation and Terminator Genesis. I kept seeing reviews that were not good. I had a few friends who saw them and were like, yeah, you just skip it. And like I said, I felt the story had sort of completed very nicely in its 2-movie arc, and I never felt a need to. But the trailer for Terminator: Dark Fate looked interesting. And then I'd read that it picks up at Terminator 2, that I didn't need to know any of the others. And I thought it was interesting because without, I'll go light into spoilers, not heavy into spoilers, but within the first few minutes of the movie, it's pretty clear that this is a sequel to Terminator 2 and that none of the others mattered.
Well, the other movies could have mattered, but it's just like anything that deals with time travel, that there could be different lines of time that split off.
Right. I did think that it was nice that for people like me who hadn't seen any of the other things, I'd missed nothing. That there was nothing in any of the other movies, the TV series, the comics, the games, whatever, that I needed to know to understand this. That all you need to know is the first 2 movies, and even the very, very intro kind of gives you a little recap of what the first 2 movies' basic timeline was. So even if you hadn't seen it, you're kind of caught up a bit.
Yeah, it does a very smooth job at bringing you into the movie. And if you haven't seen any of the Terminators, that you can still enjoy the movie for what it is.
Yeah, and I have to say, I walked in without particularly high expectations. I had seen the Rotten Tomatoes score was about 70%. So 7 out of 10 critics did like it. And I had seen online, a few of my friends had seen it and, had nice things to say. So I knew that it wasn't going to be a bad movie. But I was impressed. I was really surprised at how good it was. It was better than I thought it would be.
I know, starting to get into the meat of the movie. I'm trying to remember as we talk all of the comments that I made to you during the movie. Yes, unfortunately, I did talk during the movie, but I made sure it was very low so as not to disturb anyone around us. There were just a couple times. I don't remember what they were. I remember one of the things that you said to me though, and you do have the T-800 back, Arnold Schwarzenegger's original Terminator.
Arnie's back, boys and girls.
Whose name is now Carl.
Carl, because if you're a Terminator, what would you name yourself? Obviously, Carl.
But you turned me at one point and said, it seems at this point that the Terminator is actually more human than Sarah Connor.
And I think that's a really good point in that the story is actually quite good in that it does pick up T2 20 years later. And Sarah Connor, as expertly played by Linda Hamilton, who originated the role, she is suffering from massive PTSD. I mean, the experiences of her life have turned her in to basically a machine herself. Meanwhile, you have the Terminator, who, as we know from Terminator 2, for those of you who saw it, has the ability to, it's artificial intelligence, has the ability to learn and has the ability to grow. And so you've got this really interesting sort of cross where after 20 some years, a remaining Terminator has become almost human, and a human who has been so battered by what she's gone through has become almost a machine. And I think the writing was really good. I think it really captured that well.
And it's a very, we both thought from the previews, is this just going to be kind of a rehash of the first movie?
Right.
And they did a good job at having a very similar storyline, but having new little plots, new ideas. And not to say that it's that far from the original.
Right.
But it's still, especially if you've never even seen a Terminator movie, it's worth going to see.
Absolutely. And to be a little bit controversial, I will say Terminator Dark Fate, while walking some of the same ground of the original movie, it's still more different from the original than Star Wars Force Awakens was from Star Wars A New Hope, which was almost scene for scene.
You think that it's just New Hope. My comment with that was that it's just 4, 5, and 6 rolled together with a new cast.
It picked the whole summary of all three.
Let's just pick some things for 4, 5, and 6, and we'll put them together and make it a new Star Wars movie.
So if I were to nitpick this movie, I would say, I think the CGI was excellent. I mean, obviously, this is a big budget film, great CGI, especially at the very beginning. They, like so many movies these days, they de-age characters and all the rest. And I thought it was absolutely seamless. I really was almost shocked at how realistic it all looked. And part of it is that they didn't do much. They sort of just showed the characters and they didn't have to, it wasn't like this long 20-minute sequence of let's pretend it's 20 years ago. So by being sparse, I think it helped the illusion, but I thought the CGI throughout the whole thing was really good. The criticism, and I've made this to you as well, is that some of the action scenes were just so completely over the top, unreal, that it was clear, even if the CGI was great, it was clear that this is simply the laws of physics and everything else made it so that this could only be done in a computer.
Oh, like what?
The airplane sequence. I don't want to give too much away, but the trailer
part of that is in the trailer.
Yeah, the trailer has an airplane sequence, and it obviously goes on much longer than the trailer shows you. But it's very, very clear the way people are interacting both outside the airplane, inside the airplane, that this is just straight computer-generated action. And that's too bad because
they still had some very nice sequences within that scene.
Oh yeah.
Of how would people be able to move and react in that type of situation. And I remember sitting there thinking, yeah, both the Terminator T-800 and Grace would be able to figure out, okay, if I do it like this, then this will get me to take me from location A to location B.
Right.
And they have the ability to do that. Whereas the other people that are just human are just being thrown about and...
Yeah. So, I didn't think that all of the over-the-top action was necessary, perhaps. All time travel movies, every single one, even my beloved Avengers Endgame, if you really try and nitpick the time traveliness of it apart, then you can come up with nitpicks and flaws and everything else. But, I think this movie held together well enough that it was okay.
And it had its turns.
Right.
You say you're sitting in the movie, and if you're good at predicting what's going to happen in a movie, I think that there had a good portion of unpredictability.
Right.
And predictability. You thought, okay, oh my gosh, this is what the Rev 9, the new Terminator, has figured out. So this is how he's going to get them. And it isn't quite like that.
Right.
It's much more thought out and developed, and it's not necessarily... his one purpose is to get them. How quickly can he get them? But it's not always a direct line that he takes.
Right.
He's able to think about what's going to get me my objective. Right. What is the easiest way for this to happen where I'm going to be the most successful? And he's probably doing those calculations in his head to try and figure out which route to take in terms of the problem solving and logic and how to use the humans.
Right. Yeah, and I thought that was a nice sort of evolution as well, that in Terminator 2, the evil Terminator, who I don't remember the number, was it T-1000? I don't remember, whatever. He more or less killed every human that he came in contact with. But the Rev 9 is much more, sort of like you said, much more scheming and subtle.
Well,
and
it's going to take that. It's going to kill someone if he has to take that person.
So yeah, I'd have to say that if you like the Terminator series, people have been saying, this is the best since T2. I can't speak to that because I haven't seen any since T2, but certainly
I just don't remember them. If I've seen them.
Well, I think that's a review in and of itself. If you've seen something and you don't even remember it, I think that tells you about how memorable it was. But yeah, I'd have to say that this definitely is worth seeing. And if, like me, you didn't walk in with great expectations, I think you'll absolutely have yourself very pleasantly surprised. And I think we should also just say before we call this one that Linda Hamilton does such a wonderful job. She always did as Sarah Connor, and she does a spectacular job as sort of the older PTSD Sarah Connor now. It's a really nice bookend to her story that kind of began with her, sort of the damsel in distress waif, and ends with her as kind of the all-knowing mentor, the older Sarah Connor. So I really like that. And, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he may not be an actor with the most dynamic range of any other actor out there, but boy, this part is exactly in his wheelhouse, and he really inhabits it. So
yeah, Mackenzie Davis did an excellent job.
Yes, as Grace, absolutely.
And Natalia Reyes did a wonderful job as Dani Ramos.
Right. I think Gabriel Luna did a wonderful job as Rev 9.
The cast was really well. The actors were very well casted.
Yes. They were. And, I'd seen Gabriel Luna previously on a not very good television show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., playing one of my favorite Marvel characters, Ghost Rider. And he was kind of the best thing in a mediocre show. And it's great to see him getting some, big ticket parts. Well, thank you, Golden. And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/54. If you like this episode, please leave a review in the Apple Podcasts app or wherever you listen to podcasts. The reviews help other people find the podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.